Welcome to today's Over and Out. We're reviewing the recently concluded India and Pakistan match at the T20 World Cup, and an amazing match. Before we get into the match, we're just going to give a few comments. And what I would say is that to me, and when I coach, whether it's kids playing or just in school, you have to deserve victory. And that goes into your discipline, your approach, pre-game, pre-match, during the match, so on and so forth, your application, your dedication to your craft, and making sure that you bring about the best version of yourself. And I don't think over the coming days, weeks, and months leading up to this tournament, these players approached this World Cup whereby they were getting the best versions of themselves. And we've seen now basically two losses, both to the US and India, that are inexplicable. Two losses whereby they lost because of lack of game awareness. They lost because of lack of nous. They lost because of decisions that they made in key moments were incorrect decisions. And they lost, although you give credit to the opposition, they lost because of themselves more and less than the opposition. You look at the batting today, they played 120 balls. It's not like they were bowled out. They played the full 120 ball allotment, and yet they never actually went for it, which again shows just a lack of awareness of what was going on and what your targets were and who the upcoming bowlers were and so on and so forth. This is, to me, I've been watching this team for a long time now, over multiple decades. This is arguably one of the most disappointing set of losses that I've seen in a long time.
Sadi bhai, immediately after the match, I tweeted that this is a lost generation. So basically, whatever cachet, whatever goodwill they had after that win in the 2021 World Cup, 152 for no loss, whatever they had in the bank, that has been completely exhausted now. And they have proved that that victory against India in the World Cup was a fluke. It was a flash in the pan. These guys cannot deal with the pressure of the moment. Repeatedly, like you mentioned, they make self-inflicted errors. They produce self-inflicted wounds. I mean, 120 and 120 balls, and Mohammad Rizwan doesn't hit a single boundary in the power play. He hits 1-6 against Hardik Pandya. He took a big risk. It came off. And I mean, what kind of approach is this? When you look at the individual stats, when you look at their runs together, Rizwan and Babar, they're shattering world records. But when it comes to the clutch, when it comes to these ICC multi-nation tournaments, they have turned up a big fat blob. I mean, you hit 1-6 and one boundary when you batted 44 deliveries, and you knew they wanted your wicket. Rohit Sharma had to roll the dice. He had to bring Jasprit Bumrah back, and you slog across the line and you cleaned up first ball. And then what Fakhr Zaman did, what Shadab Khan did, what Iftikhar Ahmed, well, he's not even capable of playing at that level, to be quite frank. So it's hard to bash him when he's just not that caliber of athlete or player. It's just mind-boggling. And like I mentioned earlier, whatever good vibes we had with this team because of that one victory, we let them get away with a lot of things. We let them get away with that Asia Cup debacle. We let them get away with losing the 2022 World Cup final. We let them get away with the ODI World Cup debacle. But I think after this match, it's done and dusted. You can clearly see it's a team that is not in sync. They're playing as a fractured group. There is no vibe. There is no sense of togetherness in them. It feels like Babar is on an island. Rizwan, Shaheen, the key cornerstone players, are on an island. And Shadab has deteriorated to such a level that you are not even worth bowling one over. You came into international cricket as a frontline leg spinner, and you have been reduced to a number 5 bowling all-rounder who doesn't bowl. I mean, does it get any more humiliating than that? Forget about Imad Wasim and what he could or could not do at that stage. It was a run-a-ball chase till the last 40 odd runs, and they've messed it up, and now the World Cup is well and truly over. Even if they sneak in with other results favoring them, this group is done. And I think this generation of Pakistani cricketers, sadly to say, is done as well, considering the immense talent they have, considering the individual accolades they have accrued already. I do not see any kind of ICC silverware coming from this bunch at all. By no means.
I think you make an excellent point. When 2021 happened, we looked at this group of players and we were like, this group can lead us to multiple ICC championships. And what followed was, again, a lack of nous in how we lost to Australia in the 2021 World Cup semi-final. It was a lack of nous in how we lost the 2022 Asia Cup to Sri Lanka when they were 58 for 5. It was a lack of nous when they lost to India in the 2022 World Cup that when when Virat Kohli basically hit those 2 sixes of Haris Rauf. It was a lack of nous when, despite then losing to Zimbabwe, we made the final, then lost to England. It was the lack of nous that we saw during the entire 2023 ODI World Cup. And it's here we are now today. But if you go back even further, and I was telling someone this, over 30 years, you've gone from being the best team in the world to being amongst the best 2 to 3 teams in the world, to being among the top 5 teams in the world, to being among the top 8 teams in the world, to now being just another nation that plays cricket. And over 30 years, there's been this downward trajectory with a few blips. You had 2017 Champions Trophy, you had a T20 World Cup, but generally there's been a consistent downward trend. And over 30 years, there has been no plan to break that cycle from a top-down approach. And that's what's so disappointing. And the lack of awareness amongst the players. Shadab this week gave an interview to Wisden where he talked about how he still considered himself a bowling all-rounder, not just a batter. And yet, in a do-or-die game, in an elimination game for all practical purposes, he gets 0 overs. They would rather give Iftikhar an over of spin instead of Shadab Khan.
That just shows you his deterioration. He was the one who actually turned around our already floundering white ball fortunes, if you remember, in that period after the 2015 World Cup, and even before that when Afridi was on his last legs and we were a very, very poor side. Azhar Ali used to be our frontline leg spinner in that period. And we even had to qualify for that 2017 Champions Trophy, if you remember. He was the one who debuted in the Windies and he gave us that cutting edge with the ball. And we thought, wow, we have got an absolute superstar on our hands. His trajectory was shooting right to the sky in the first 2 or 3 years. But since then, he's molded, or rather become just another passenger in the side. And like you mentioned today, there's no bigger humiliation than that. You're a frontline leg spinner. You have won matches for Pakistan with the ball. You've just won the PSL as well. You should be riding the clouds high. But instead, Babar didn't even trust him to bowl a single over on a turning track. We saw Imad Wasim was turning it square, but he backed the finger spinner over him, even gave Iftikhar an over. Even Imad Wasim, who was a humble finger spinner at best, was giving Rishabh Pant fits. But Babar Azam decided, I can't trust him. He'll leak runs and this match will run away. And even though India only batted 19 overs, the batting was utter shambles from us. What can you say? In a low-scoring run chase, if you do not get ahead of the required run rate early in the piece, you'll always be chasing the game. India just kept building that dot ball pressure. We kept succumbing to the pressure. We kept playing terrible shots. We pushed that required run into 7, 8, 8.5. And in the end, it was what we needed, 18 in the last over. It was absolutely disgraceful, to say the least.
Yeah, let's dive into it and then come to how we got into such a position that in a run a ball chase, you ended up needing 18 in the last over. So I think the bowlers did really well. I am now officially concerned about, I was concerned before, but I'm really concerned about Shaheen now. 4 overs, 29. He was probably the worst bowler there. Amir Naseem, the pick, but Imad also, like you mentioned, 3 overs for 17 runs. I thought at one point, the Indians lost basically 7 wickets for 30 runs. And at the midway stage where they were 89 for 3, this looked like a total that could easily go in the 160s and 170s, and that would be far too much. We talked about this in our preview. But credit to the bowlers. They fought back. Despite the fact that I think the bowlers in the beginning were a little too loose. India scored 50 runs in the power play for the loss of 2 wickets. And again, goes to your approach. We talked about Australia doing this the other day. Even though they lost 2 wickets, they still scored 70-odd runs in the power play. India again showing that in T20, you really have to maximize the number of runs you put on the board. And then, of course, sloppy fielding, overthrows, drop catches. Your thoughts on the Indian innings?
What we saw from this track today, Sadi Bhai, was that as the ball lost its shine and its hardness, it becomes way more difficult to bat. And that is what India did really well as compared to us. They aggressed in the power play despite losing Virat Kohli early, despite losing Rohit Sharma early. Akshar Patel, of all people, showed great intent and he got 50 in the first six alongside Rishabh Pant, who played a very streaky innings, it has to be said. When you look at the scorecard, you would have thought, wow, Rishabh Pant has played a worldie. But when you look at the actual visual footage, he was all over the place. But he came in, he was willing to take risks. They came off a fair few times. Eventually, they did not. And that when that ball got softer and you saw that two-paced nature of the wicket and you saw that variable bounce as well, that is when Pakistan really inflicted that pressure. I think we got quite lucky, to be quite honest, that India kept losing wickets in clumps. They gave away back-to-back wickets and eventually were reduced to 98 for 7, if I'm not wrong, with both Haris Rauf and Mohammad Amir being on hat-tricks at one stage. So the Indians applied themselves very poorly. I think they have to answer some questions as well, that if we lose Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma, is Akshar Patel our answer to do the rescue act? It was very lucky they got away with it in this match, but I think they will need some fine-tuning later on. And what you saw is from our Pakistani batting effort, our anchor played such an intentless innings right throughout. He didn't hit a single boundary in the power play. I mean, how do you even manage to do that? Even by mistake, you could get an outside edge that runs away to deep third. Mohammad Rizwan could not even manage that. Babar Azam, he did hit two boundaries. He got out to a worldie of a catch. It was terrific bowling from Bumrah to get that extra bounce at that moment. Otherwise, I think Babar could have at least shown better intent, better ability to hit the ball before outside the power play. But Mohammad Rizwan completely shut up shop, and well, in the end, it has happened what happened when the dot ball pressure kept on building. Fakhar Zaman, terrible shot. Of course, he always, when he gets out, he always looks foolish. Shadab Khan, when he always gets out, he looks foolish. Imad Wasim looked completely listless. And if Iftikhar is just not capable of competing at that level, to be able to aggress against the fast bowlers at that level, he can't do it. Maybe 130, 135 kph is more of his hitting range. Anything quicker than that, and he gets exposed.
You brought up a good point, that of the runs scored by Rishabh Pant and Akshar Patel. They scored a lot of their runs with unorthodox shots. And if you look at our lineup, we were missing the existence of a batter who could score runs in an unorthodox manner. So no Saim, obviously we talked about that. But more importantly, even in the squad, no Haris. And I think going forward, Pakistan has to change its approach to how their team is built and how the team is structured, because modern day cricket is all about creating runs from areas where runs are not easily available. And both Pant and Akshar Patel showed that. And yes, there was an element of luck to it, but fortune favors the brave, and we need to be brave. You mentioned something about our top order, Rizwan not scoring runs, Babar not scoring runs. Despite that, when Usman Khan got out, we were 66 for 2 in the 11th over. We needed 54 or 54, and we had 8 wickets in hand. If you look at win-whiz at that point, there was a
92%
on win-whiz, and on Cricinfo, 97.5% chance of victory to go a run a ball basically over the last 9 overs with 8 wickets in hand. And that's when Rizwan, Shadab, Fakhar, and Imad, all senior players, all who have played the PSL circuit for years, all who have won with their PSL franchises and negotiated far more sterner tests. This is where they needed to basically put their big boy pants up, take control of the game. You know, I was chatting with friends during this game, and even us, we're just casual fans, but we could recognize the fact that at the 11 over mark, Bumrah had 2 overs left. Left, and we needed to get ahead of the run rate, because we knew that chances are over those 2 overs we'd get lucky if we gave up, scored more than 4 to 5 runs. And it goes back to your intent. We'd never had the intent in the power play. Rizwan and Babar, again, too timid. This is the same Babar who scored 4 runs in the power play against the US. Today, Rizwan in the power play didn't score a single boundary, and then gets out on the first ball of Bumrah's over when he knows that all he needs to do is negotiate that over, and you're basically home free. You keep your wicket intact, and that's the thing that bothers me the most, is that we played it's not like we got bowled out. We played the entire 20 overs and never once went for it. Never had a 20 run over, never had an 18 run over. Far too casual in our singles, and it goes again. We never deserved the victory. If we'd won this game, we would have sort of lucked into it. because India basically had a brain fade and lost 7 wickets for 30 runs. But clearly,
You're absolutely right.
the
There's just a
Rizwan
lack
wicket
of.
was the delta.
You're absolutely right. I mean, you've just summarized it all, and I'm sure they will discuss this in their post-match meeting as well. I'm sure Gary Kirsten has a very big word file to open up and discuss these things with them. But the thing is, they won't improve. They'll just keep repeating the same mistakes again and again. Of course, that is the definition of insanity. And I think we might be going insane as Pakistan cricket fans to still have faith in these lads. We're still hoping that okay, maybe if Ireland beats the US and if we win our last two games, maybe we will make it into the Super 8s and we'll turn it around. But this is not a sustainable formula for success, and that's why we've been trophyless for the most part. We come up with these terrific stats that Pakistan has won an ICC trophy in every single decade, but that is absolutely meaningless. Where cricket is the number one, number two, and number three sport in the country, and we can't even produce a championship-winning side, let alone a side that makes it into the semi-finals consistently.
Yeah, everyone always loves to say they're this mercurial team, Pakistan cricket. But as fans, and if you're a player, you don't want to be mercurial. You want to be consistently excellent every day, every match. You don't want to be, up and down, peaks and valleys. You want to be sort of like this. And if you look at Bumrah, you look at Kohli, you look at Rohit, and this is all since Dhoni and prior to him, Ganguly and Dravid and Sachin. They weren't mercurial. They basically had a level of excellence, and it's now been multiple decades of that. And the proof is in the pudding. Yes, they haven't won ICC events, but single games, wins and losses happen. India has lost a bunch of finals, but they've made it to a bunch of finals.
Absolutely.
As well. And they've given their fans, two Test championship finals. We're not even close to reaching that. Yes, they get the, losing finals gets old, but at least they're getting there through consistency.
It's a coping mechanism, Saadi bhai, for us die-hard fans of Pakistan cricket. We're just putting some balm on our wounds to deal with this team. Oh, they're very entertaining. They play the most exciting cricket. This is not exciting cricket. This is just when you win one against the grain, it's just, yeah, even clowns are entertaining if you want entertainment. This is top level sports. You're competing for silver where you're investing real hundreds and thousands of dollars, millions of dollars into producing a world class product. But apparently this generation, it's been wasted on them because they're just not good enough. Time and again, they've proved that they're mentally not there, and they perhaps never will be there. We can just suck it up and take it, and we'll be turning up to the matches again. We'll be spending our hard-earned money to buy expensive tickets. Once again, we have people flying in from all over the globe to witness this match in New York because it would be their first ever cricketing experience, and this is the display they got from these guys. I just feel sorry for those fans, to be quite honest.
And again, delving back into the game as a batting team, missed full tosses, not put away for boundaries, getting out to just brainless batting, both the way Shadab got out, the way Fakhr got out, sort of premeditating where they're going to go. The bowler basically just following their line, their body line, and pitching it short. And sure enough, just not having the athleticism or the finesse or the reflexes to basically, or the guile to basically turn a orthodox shot into an unorthodox shot.
I mean, you could see Hardik Pandya's celebration when he dismissed Fakhr and Shadab. Like, he didn't even consider them like mere mortals that you could even compete with him. He just had a wry look on their face that you're a bunch of clowns and I can get you out when I like. And he did exactly that time and again. We give wickets to, okay, fair enough, Bumrah gets you out, that's fair enough. But Hardik Pandya getting wickets consistently. He has a fabulous bowling record against Pakistan. And I mean, what can one say? It's just a humiliating, a debilitating loss. And I can't wait for this World Cup to be over, quite frankly.
It's disappointing in the way it happened. It's easy to say that, well, you guys didn't expect to win either. And that's fair. But once you got India all out inside of 19 overs for 119, and you had to chase 120, then the expectation changes. Then you should expect to win because...
And the hilarious part is, Saadi bhai, I was surrounded by, of course, doing commentary on live radio. So I have Robin Uthappa, former World Cup winner, alongside me. And even then they knew that Pakistan is so dodgy, is so unreliable. They still were optimistic that India could win, and in the end, I was left looking at them like, yeah, you were right, and I had nothing else to say because even we knew deep down that Pakistan is going to mess it up, and lo and behold, they did.
Yeah, if you look that they went from 66 for 2 at the end of 11 overs to needing 18 of the last.
Six
That's
balls.
just mind-boggling approach to batting and chasing a target. How do you let such a delta grow? And these are not tailenders who are causing this delta. You know, when Usman got out, Rizwan was there, then came in Fakhr, then Shadab, then Imad. These are all frontline batters of yours that you've selected for that reason.
Well, the mind boggles, but Pakistan has a way of proving us wrong for the wrong reasons.
Any other thoughts?
What can one say? And now we're relying on what do we need? We basically need Ireland to beat Canada, and then we beat them, and then we look at the net run rate.
Ireland already
that
lost
kind
to
of.
Canada. You need Ireland to beat the US. Ireland's already lost to Canada.
Oh yeah, we need Ireland to beat the US.
the
You're
US.
absolutely right. So yeah.
We need Ireland to beat the US, and we need to overcome a net run rate as well now.
And there is a very serious danger if Pakistan don't make it through to the Super 8s. They might even need to qualify for the next T20 World Cup. So that would be the ultimate humiliation. And I think the way these lads are playing, they may well deserve it.
No, I think serious stock needs to be taken. But we talked about serious stock needing to be taken on regarding Pakistan cricket after the 2023 World Cup, and here we are.
We've taken stock so many times that we've run out of stock to take. It's that kind of scenario now.
Thank you very much. We'll do it again tomorrow.